Welcome back, and of course, as we said earlier in our intro, we're going to be talking about the Siwa Oasis in detail as one of the most charming spots in Egypt. And we have with us the tourism counselor, Dr. Yehya Abdul.
Good morning.
Good morning, Dr. Abdul. Let us first talk about the very long history of the oasis.
Well, really, Siwa Oasis, it's rich with, like its location, its attributes, its attractions, and its long, deep history as well. It carries, antiquities and archaeological sites that dates back to, early Pharaonic times, and then followed by Greek-Roman period, Coptic and Islamic, and then current day, Siwa Oasis. And we remember that, like Alexander the Great, he visited, the oasis and he met the priests, they give him the oracle that he's going to be a great leader. And that, was a great, that was a great event for worldwide tourism, and now it has an extra environmental attractions as well.
Right. So what distinguishes the Siwa Oasis in its nature than the other oases that are? I mean, Egypt is rich with its oasis and the spaces in that particular area that are very distinguished also. But this one is very particular and very special. Why?
Well, really, it has, pristine, attributes, the characteristics. Number one, it's soil. Now, it's mineral, waters. And it's an excellent location for medical therapy and healing, effects. That's why large number of European visitors and worldwide, they come and spend a week, 10 days, buried in the sand and swim in the salt lakes. So this is a natural healing effect without any medication. Again, it's a lush oasis, with the underground water that, has hundreds of thousands of palm trees and vineyards, and it's a great source for pure and pristine olive oil as well. So it's so preserved, like a paradise, unspoiled by modern, constructions and civilization. That's why it's very attractive. And it has a romantic, memories for visitors as well.
Right. Well, let's talk about the source of the name, the Siwa Oasis. From where that name came and how did it develop over years to become the Siwa Oasis?
Well, I mean, naturally, Egypt, in 4,000 or 5,000 years ago, it was so lush, so, there was lots of rain, and remember the River Nile was over flooding, and it has about from 5 to 7 branches. So it was very fertile and very lush oasis in this part of the world. So nomadic, visitors, they came from the east, they came from the south, and they come from the west as well. So it has a culture of heritage and languages and characteristics, large number of the people, they speak, their own dialect, which is under the influence, of our great and dear neighbor Libya. And to the south, we have a little bit farther, Sudan. So it's a multicultural which has been evolved over time. And the name, originally it's a Pharaonic name that has been kept all the way until our modern and contemporary history.
Right. So what about the important sites there and the monuments? What is it distinguished with?
Well, it has the Thebes temple, and some of it was Pharaonic, and then like most temples and relics in Egypt, antiquities, they belong to the pre-dynastic, Pharaonic times. Then when the Greeks came, they rehabilitated and reconstructed most of these temples, all the way from Aswan to the Delta, because when they came, they were 3,000-4,000 years old, and they had, to restore it, and because they adopted, Egyptian beliefs and costumes and relics, and like when you go to Esna, Sembil, Komombo, All of these temples were Egyptian, but they've been restored during the time of the Ptolemies and Cleopatra, and we can see this well manifested. So yeah, there's lots of old temples and constructions and tombs as well, but mostly reflects, like the Greco-Roman period, because it was so venerated and respected by them. And as I mentioned, Alexander the Great was so excited to go and meet the priest of Amun and tell him that, he's going to be a brilliant leader, which really took place, and we can see the oracle has been crucified.
It's very popular. Siwa is very popular, but it's by its amazing nature, and also the distinguished, residents for tourists there. And it's, by the way, they come over to those residents from all over the world. It has hosted celebrities and social figures and personalities over the years. Talk to us about the natural resources there and the residents, and how it is depending on nature. The whole world is talking about the places where you stay in Siwa.
Yes, this is definitely true and accurate, because many of the developers and hoteliers, they didn't want to destroy, spoil, the special nature of Siwa, its plantation, its animals, its inhabitants. So they developed the resorts, using mud bricks instead of cement, and they use natural, ventilation, not using, electrical power, and using the solar power, for a large number of the projects, and using the underground water. So it's so pristine that reminds you of civilization 2,000-3,000 years ago. For example, they use, candles instead of electrical power, and no air conditioning in many of the hospitality facilities developed over there. So that appeals, to visitors worldwide, because they like to look back and, at the past and how we lived comfortably without, too much of the modern technologies that sometimes, can pose harm, on the surroundings area, like humans, plants, and animals, and whatever.
Right. We have less than 1 minute left. So we need to ask you briefly about the climate there, and the weather, and the type of environment there for people who are interested to visit.
Well, actually, I came back from Matrur a few days ago, and I'm going to Siwa shortly in October, and it's beautiful. It has a dry weather, it has rich soil, it has fresh, clean water. So it's very, demanding, and very attractive to visitors worldwide. They feel comfortable, and they came back, sound and healthy. So it's a great resort for rehabilitation, like the old, spa spots we know, throughout the Roman Empire and the Greek and the old world, where people like to go to oases like this to, reconstruct and rebuild and restore their energies again. So it's a great resort, really. And there's a large number of visitors going there year-round. So there should be limitation of the number of visitors, not to damage or spoil the very pristine environment and ecotourism that Siwa is famous for.
It's good for all seasons?
Yes, it's beautiful. It's a dry weather, and it has a beautiful winter that visitors, they are there over
Right. Dr. Yehya Abdul, the Tourism Council, would like to thank you, sir, talking to us at the Breakfast Show, and you have a beautiful day. By this, we come to the end of this edition of the Breakfast Show for today. Many thanks to all of you. Until we see you tomorrow morning, that's a goodbye.